Hello, my name is Sarah Kile. I'm the Executive Director of 211 Northeast Michigan. I'm here today to talk about services that we provide, but especially services to our veterans. 211 is a 3-digit number. Anyone can call for health and human services. Most often we get calls related to utilities. I don't know how to pay my electric bill, and I know there's services out there, so they call 211. We maintain a database of all the health and human services in our region. We're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. One of the services that we offer as well is our Courage to Call program. We ask all callers if there's a veteran in the household. If there is a veteran identified, we allow for a follow-up. We want to make sure that veterans get the service that is due to them as a veteran or as a family member of a veteran. So today we're focusing on those services for our veterans, and we have two very special guests, two really experts in the field. We have Renee and Jason. I'm going to let you guys introduce yourselves and talk to us about what you do.
Okay, so my name is Jason Wentworth. I am an Army veteran, 5 years, and currently I work with the Michigan Veterans Affairs Agency as the Region 5 coordinator. So I cover areas Clare County, Gladwin, Aranac, Gratiot, Isabella, and Midland and Bay counties.
And I'm Renee Haley. I'm the Director of Veteran Services for Clare County. I am also an Army veteran, served in Desert Storm. I also sit on a governor-appointed board for women's veterans throughout the state of Michigan, and it's truly a privilege to be here today.
So I'm going to ask you to expound a little bit because we're talking about connecting veterans to services. And when we have someone who calls 211 and identify that someone in their household has served in the military, we make very common referrals to both MVAA and to their local county veteran service officer. So when I send people to the veteran service officer, for example, what kind of services are they going to receive, or what kind of things do you guys do?
Well, I can tell you that the first thing we're going to do when I receive a call from a veteran is I'm going to find out what are their needs. Sometimes they don't even know what their needs are. They just, it could be medical, it could be emergency, it could be in numerous things. So we try to basically find out what the main issue is that they need at that time, and then we also can bring in a melody of many other services that they probably don't realize they could have.
Great. And what about the MVAA?
So the MVAA is similar as what Renee said. One of the main things that they want to do is dig into that root cause and figure out what is causing the issue. And most of our calls that we get into the MVAA, to the 800 MISH vet, we refer to a service officer because it's important that they get that wraparound service. Service officers, they do this service for free. They're accredited through the state, and they provide a great service. So I think as a team, we can get to that root cause and then refer out as necessary. So.
And that's really the point, really, is to make sure that when someone has a need, they contact someone. We're hoping they call 211 or 1-800-MISH-VET or their local county veteran service officer. When you've been working with veterans for a long time, tell me, what kind of barriers are there for veterans who are looking for service?
I can tell you on behalf of a female veteran that that's a huge barrier. Is there a lot of our female vets out there have struggled with finding what services are available to them, whether it be medical care, service connections. You know, it's pretty impacting. So that's a big issue.
By impacting, you mean?
What I mean by that is that they choose themselves last. So typically a female veteran doesn't seek help until it's really important, or it's the last of the straw. So I think it's important that we step away from that boundary and let our female vets know that they deserve the same care as any veteran.
Okay, great.
I think some of the barriers that I've seen from callers and just veterans in general, that it's confusing. Mm-hmm. So trying to figure out what benefit or what they may be eligible for based on their veteran status or their non-veteran status or as a family member. So it's a barrier for them to get over that and actually call for help. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of times they want to do it themselves. They want to figure it out. But you do need to make a call sometimes and get that assistance from somebody who they do it for a full-time job and they know all the ins and outs of the eligibility criteria, and you don't have to do it on your own. So definitely make a call.
Definitely, and I find the frustrations with that too for a lot of our veterans is there's nothing worse than being sent to this person and then this person and then this person. By the third person, if they get that far, they're not going to seek any more services. So I think it's really important that they know that we care and that we're there to help them find those services that are available to them.
Wonderful. So when you talk about different qualifications, let's say I'm watching this and I'm saying, well, I served in this, I didn't serve in. If I have served in the U.S. military, is there anything that can stop me from coming to either, anyone can call 211 for a service, but is there anything that would stop me from calling 1-800-MISH-VET or from calling my veteran service officer?
Absolutely not. So I think that whichever way you go, the expert on the other line is going to know which way to send you to the benefit or to the eligibility criteria. And that's one of the things that we try to assist with is not necessarily what program you're eligible for, but what are the issues that you're facing. Let's dig into why you need this assistance and how you are at the position you're at in your life where you might need some assistance. So that's where I think the key is when you call, you don't have to know what programs are out there. And we've been doing this for a long time, and I learn stuff every day. More benefits and more eligibility criteria, and they change all the time, so it's impossible to stay up on. But that's what we do for a living, so we're able to kind of dig in there and help you figure out what the best service would be for you.
Right.
I agree. And as far as the county counselors go too, not only are we state accredited, but we're nationally accredited. So there is a lot of training that's involved in that. We work hand in hand with the VA to make sure that we do understand all of the new laws that are coming out and the federal changes that happen daily, it seems. So I do think that's key to that, is that that we stay up on everything that's important to providing the best benefit to our veterans.
Okay, so what if I'm sitting at home and I really don't have any major needs right now? Is there a benefit to either registering with the VA or coming to see my county service officer, or do I just wait until there is a need?
Actually, no. I think it's a great benefit for you to bring that DD 214 into that office and just introduce yourself to them. Maybe you don't have a need right now, but maybe there's some services that you didn't know were available to you. You don't want to wait till that crisis, and then it's trying to find the right forms and trying to get the information that we need ahead of time. I think if you know ahead of time where to find that assistant, that's key to that. And that's where the service officers and the county counselors are key to their success, is having a location that the veterans know that they can come to 5 days a week, and they know if they have a question, they can come in and we'll have an answer for them.
Great.
Exactly. And I think that the one key thing there is that they're local. So in each county in Michigan, almost every county, there is someone there that can help you at an office or even just a phone call. So I think it's important to know that they're real people. They're accredited. They're not VA employees. Sometimes the VA gets a bad rap for maybe long wait times on the phone, or that's not what this is. They're people there to help you in your county that care. So reach out and make the call. Even if you don't necessarily need a benefit or a resource right now, make that connection, as Renee was saying.
And if I am in a county where, for example, the county officer may only be 1 day a week, or maybe reduced service, or there are some counties, I believe Saginaw is one, where there is no officer. So what do I do at that point?
Well, I think it's essential that they reach out to the closest county counselor that they can. I do have several counties that come to me because there's a few around us that have either part-time or just hiring in. We are working on that across the state of Michigan. The goal with the MVAA and the National Association of County Counselors is to have every county represented. And that's the ultimate goal. But I would definitely reach out to whoever's closest and try to pay a visit to that office.
Great. And a reminder to find your local veteran service officer. You could go to your county website, or you could just dial 211. We do have all veteran county service officers in our database to make sure that we are representing that as well. So when you talked earlier about those root causes, what things are you seeing as a big root cause of maybe a time of crisis or a need in a veteran family? Are there common root causes? Are there common things that you're seeing?
Well, I can tell you, not to sound, I think we hear so much of it, but the post-traumatic stress is a huge issue. So our combat vets are coming back. We as a nation are wonderful at training our guys and girls to go over there and fight a conflict for us in a war, but we're not so good at bringing them back into transition mode. It's not that simple as flipping a switch. It's not going to be sudden. It's after all the excitement wears down and then they realize they need a job. They have to provide for a family. There's emotional issues that go with that. There's a lot of barriers that will start stepping in their way as we go along, and that's where I find they get into a crisis mode because they're just not sure where to turn. They've changed a few things now when you come back from a combat zone, when you've been deployed. They have the yellow ribbon campaign and things that they do now, but there's still so much information that all you want to do is just get that card signed and go home. It's not until months later that they realize they really need some assistance. It's hard for a veteran to reach out. We're supposed to be the toughest of the tough, and what they don't understand is that you're still human, and you still have you need to reach out for assistance for that, to help you through that cause. And we find that veterans serving together with veterans and working together with veterans have a much better outcome.
And to add to that, I would say that a lot of times when veterans come back, they get right to work. And it may be the first job that they got right out of the military. So they may be underemployed. They may have other skills that they can use that they've used in the military, but yet they got a job right away because that's what they do. They work and they get things done. So they took that first job, and now they're almost stuck in that job. So they're underemployed, and then maybe they've added a child to the family. So instead of asking for help, they work harder. And that's where the MVAA and other places could come in, where we could help with employment and help, increase their standard of living. Some people are waiting on disability compensation to come through the VA. So they, with anticipation of that, if that disability, maybe some back pay coming with it, they would be able to pay off some debt, and then that would, at that point, then they could move on. But maybe it's taking them a long time to receive that disability. So now they're in a larger situation. Right. But again, that would be a situation where you could call and just ask for help.
Right. And have someone on your side. So I'm sitting here with 2 veterans, and I'm not a veteran. How do I either recognize that someone, a loved one, a significant other is in need of help? Are there signs? Is there something I can do as someone who is either the family member or just someone who cares?
Absolutely. So the first thing I would suggest is that if you notice a drastic personality change, if they start becoming where they will not go around events and people, they seclude themselves, they're very agitated, those are things to be looking for. Depression, that's a huge thing. Drastic weight loss or weight gain, those are things to pay attention to, especially if they've come back from a deployment. You always want to, you want to allow them that opportunity to try to transition, but let them know that there are services that can help them through that process.
Great.
And I would say with that too, family members can call. So it's tough to talk to someone when you don't know how to approach them. We can help with that. So you can call and ask, hey, my veteran, my husband, my grandfather, my brother is withdrawn, or showing some of those signs. How do I approach this situation? It's tough to say one blanket answer, but we can definitely help you through based on the signs and things that are happening that you're experiencing. So I think that if you aren't seeing the signs and just opening that dialogue, ask about their service. Most veterans will tell you what branch they served in, what years they served, and they like to talk about those things. They just don't think maybe you don't care. So maybe they just don't ever tell you because you've never asked them about it. So just open that dialogue. Even if you don't see any issues, I think it's nice to know about your family member's service and that kind of thing, so you can learn more about them, and when they do maybe show those signs, you can be aware of their service. So.
And along those lines too, Sarah, I'd like to mention that it's not just our recent combat vets that we need to be looking out for. I'm seeing a huge influx even from our Vietnam era. Once that retirement hits, just like Jason had mentioned, when they stop working, life kind of comes to a standstill. It can even be at that point in their lives where a crisis can come down. There's a lot of issues that come up. And so that's why I think it's important that we're not just speaking of recently deployed. This is any veteran that's served this country. And it takes years sometimes to manifest. Sometimes they hide it well, and they've been through many different relationships or jobs just trying to get through it, but it comes a point where they need to realize that there's a hand reaching out to help them.
Now, what if I'm the family member? My father, my mother has served in the military. Are there any services for me as a family member?
Typically, a dependent of a veteran, unless you're a minor, there's limited availability for dependents. It also depends on the situation.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. It really depends on the situation. There are a lot of so for grandchildren and things like that, and sons and daughters of veterans. Typically, we get the main request is educational benefits. So, and quite honestly, those are the ones that are the toughest to get, because they either had to transfer the benefit while they're in service, or there's a lot of things, the variables that are added. But there's always scholarships, opportunities for your school. There's usually something. It may take a little bit of work, but if you have a veteran, or your son or daughter, or a relationship to a veteran, you can always call and ask and see if there's anything available. But it really is just dependent on each situation and what the veteran status is.
Now, Jason, you had mentioned that sometimes the VA gets a bad rap. They've been in the news, but I've heard things are getting better. I mean, really, for a while there was a pretty, the news every day was not good to hear the VA when you heard it in the news, but it's getting better, correct?
Absolutely. I think it is getting better. I think it's important to talk about that and encourage veterans that if they've tried in the past to maybe access benefits through the federal VA and they didn't have a good experience, try again, because there's been a lot of changes, and there's been a lot of good that's been happening. Unfortunately, it's taken a little bit of time to get there, but I think that they're doing a very good job, and they're they're really trying to make those changes so it's a different experience for veterans. And I think with the veteran service officers and their accreditation and the training that they go through, that helps that process so much more for the VA. So that's why we try to get everybody to sit down with the veteran service officer and talk about the benefits and talk about those things, because that's what they do, and that will help the federal VA out tremendously when it comes time to file a claim or or seek another benefit. So.
And on that note, too, unfortunately, you only hear the bad things. You don't hear all the good things. And it's just as Jason said, the partnership that we've developed with the VA over the years has been tremendous. It's the reason that we have the ability to advocate on our veterans' behalf as they're going through it. It can be overwhelming at times, but there's a great way to find that channel, and that's what a veterans service officer, county counselor can do for them. And I agree. I mean, they've come so far. I mean, just in the last 5 years, there's been a tremendous outreach from the VA. The outpatient C-Box now, which are the outpatient clinics that are located in a lot of our areas. They're popping up all over, especially in the rural areas. I just think that they're certainly, but it's the largest federal program next to Social Security, so there's going to be glitches, unfortunately. Right. That's where it's most important for the veteran and their family members to know, stay in touch with your county counselor if you have an issue. Sometimes they can resolve it very easily for you, but you must be proactive in your own health care. It's really important.
Right. So, Renee, we've heard more than once that your job as a veteran service officer in your county, there's a lot of training, a lot of things that you go through. Can you kind of expound on that and tell me, we've brought up the VA, just from what we do at 211, I see people will call us and say, well, can I go on, register online? If I'm not currently and I have a medical need, what is the benefit of going to the VA and registering? So can you hit both of those?
Sure. So what I can tell you, like for example, say Vietnam era, the benefit of them doing that is that there are conditions that are coming up all the time that are called presumptive conditions that you may not realize down the line if you develop could be an actual benefit for you for the rest of your life. So it's important to register on a lot of those behalfs, and then that way they can keep up with you as far as what conditions you do have, what may happen in your future. None of us can predict that. So I think it's really important for a lot of aspects.
And then what is your training like to become a veteran service officer?
Okay, good question. So I'm in a lot of training, and a lot of it's not mandatory. It's just to stay up on what's happening. So the mandatory training to keep our accreditation is we have to have so many CEUs. The training's provided by the VA once a year. We have to go to that. If you lose your accreditation, you cannot file claims on behalf of the VA. I would never suggest that a veteran ever go and try to file a claim on their own. I know they're pushing the go online and do that. That's great for some things, but I would never want a veteran to be out there trying to file claims by themselves online without having the guidance of a county counselor. There's so many steps that you have to take and things that you want to make sure they're not missing. Okay.
And for someone who's not a veteran, what does it mean to file a claim?
So to file a claim, it can be for it could be pension claim, it could be a disability compensation claim. There's a couple different ways you can go about that depending on your status and your age and if you have any medical conditions. But I'll add to the medical condition part where I used to work for the Michigan Veterans Resource Service Center, so the 800 MISH vet number, and you'd be amazed how many veterans would call us, particularly Vietnam veterans who would just be calling just to inquire about benefits. What am I eligible for? And we would go through the normal conversation and talk about their service and build that rapport and it's a veteran talking to a veteran, so the language is completely different, and you start building a rapport, and then before you know it, you find out that this veteran has multiple health conditions, but he doesn't relate them to his service in Vietnam. So after talking with those veterans, we explain, that is presumptive. That means that if you step foot, and sometimes, in some cases, not even step foot in Vietnam, but let's just use this as an example, a Vietnam veteran who was overseas in Vietnam has multiple health conditions that are presumptive. So you might think they're because of another health condition that made this health condition, but it was presumptive. So they're automatic.
But that's not just Vietnam, right?
It's just not Vietnam. There are different presumptive conditions for different eras and things like that, but Vietnam in particular, because that seems to be the growing population that are getting to that age where they're stopping work and they're realizing like, wow, I have a lot of health conditions right now, and I can't work anymore, and how am I going to be able to afford? They give us a call and they realize that they could have been receiving this benefit for years if they had reached out prior. So it's important that even if you don't think you have a health condition or any medical conditions that are related to your service, you still talk to an expert and figure out if there's anything that you're eligible for.
Absolutely. And to expand on that too, I'd like to mention this about the dependents. So say a Vietnam veteran dies of a condition that the spouse never realized was service connected. That also is a benefit that would transcend for her, as long as she's, not remarried. So I mean, it expands different all around. It's important for them to know what benefits they have.
So we would obviously tell people to call 211 1-800-MISH-VET, but it is any veteran can come into your office, because that's what we're really trying to do, is make sure that folks are connected, that if they have a need, that they're definitely getting connected there. Can I stop by? I mean, really, what are the, in our region, we have a lot of, 9 to 5 veteran service officers, but those offices, are my tax dollars funding? Can I just stop by? Do I have to pay anything? Can you tell me more how easy it is to get in? It's
so very easy. We're there 5 days a week. And I have an assistant that's there, so there's many, things that I have to be up at, she covers when I'm not there. Absolutely. The thing is you don't know until you walk in. And if it gets to be a little more extensive, we can make appointments for something, and we'll have a packet ready so we know what we need to do the next time they come in. But no, absolutely. I have a bulletin board where I have lots of information on the bulletin board, from job openings to camps for kids, for lots of different things that are going on that would be of interest to any veteran. So I think it's key to that. They need to come in. I encourage them to come in, see what's available. Look at my bulletin board. Let's talk about what's going on, even if nothing more than just to introduce yourself to me, because we have lots of events and things that are going on that I think our vets need to know about.
Right. And the same thing with MVAA. So, for example, if I can't make it to a county office, maybe I'm homebound. I mean, it's an easy number, and we at 211 have partnered with MVAA to make sure that our veterans are being served correctly. You guys have gone right out of your way for folks. I mean, over and over and over.
Yeah, the MVAA right now has 5 accredited service officers that will travel anywhere in the state. To anybody that's homebound that can't access a service officer, maybe that service officer isn't able to get out to their house. We offer that service to any veteran that may be homebound or can't make a trip to a service office. So yeah, again, it's something that we want to make sure that every veteran, if there's a need, we're getting them the help, or they know where to go to get the assistance.
Great. And you brought up transportation. So we know transportation in our region, the 23 counties that 211 serves, I believe transportation is one of the biggest issues that we're going to see, right next to poverty. Can you tell me what kind of services might there be for a veteran who needs a transportation?
Certainly. So, and that is regionally based. So I think there's a lot of there are a lot of options out there. It's just whether or not they're in your region, and if they travel to where you live or your particular need. But one off the top of my head is the DAV. So Disabled American Veterans, they set up transportation a lot. So they have a number that you can call. You can call 211 and get that and be connected right to them. So there are transportation resources. They're very limited, and I do agree with you. That is a huge issue in the veteran community and just in the community in general.
So it certainly is, and I appreciate you mentioning the DAV van, because we are fortunate enough in Central Michigan that we have a DAV van. So that services Clare, Gladwin, Isabella, and Midland counties. It's all based on volunteer drivers. It's a wonderful program. The VA pays for all of the gas and the maintenance on the vehicles. It's just underserved. We don't have enough drivers and enough vehicles, and we can't go door to door. So, but we do have the ability to meet and pick up, and the driver goes with the veteran and waits for them. There is no cost to them at all, and that's a great program. We are on the road just about 5 days a week, every week for the most part. So it is truly a needed service. Without that service, there's a lot of our veterans that could not make it to those medical appointments without it.
Wonderful. Well, as we wrap up, I want to say thank you, obviously, both to Renee and Jason for being, the experts today. But the most important thing that I'm going to push again, and I would hear you guys saying, is to get connected. So whether it's dialing 211 to get connected with any services, to find your local veteran service officer, by dialing 1-800-MISH-VET to get Michigan Veterans Affairs Administration Agency. MVA, it's all the same. But to get connected and make sure that we are finding those needs and that we're connecting people to resources that are available. Is there anything that you'd like to finish up saying?
I would just like to say, first of all, it really was a privilege to be here today, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to continue to advocate on behalf of our veterans. I think it's important for them to know that we do understand, you're talking to another veteran that can certainly reach out and assist you through those, and don't hesitate, that's what we're here for, and it's my privilege to serve our vets.
And I second that, very well said. I think that one of the things that I do want to touch on would be, if you're a veteran and you might not have a need right now, but you want to volunteer or you want to get involved with other veterans, give us a call. Let us know that that's something you're willing to do. I think there's definitely a need out there, and plus the camaraderie. that's great. So, but I really do appreciate the opportunity to be here. Anytime you can talk about veterans, sign me up.
Well, I would say this is a wonderful opportunity, and I would remind people that they can get in contact with their local Veteran Service Office with other services by dialing 211. And as we like to say when it comes to our veterans, you had the courage to serve, now have the courage to call. Thank you.